a country where gravity works backwards. A town that sits in 2 time zones at once, a border defended by a flower pot. Today, we're exploring 30 mind-blowing facts about Canada that will shatter everything you thought you knew about the world's second-largest country. Fact 1. Canada has a strategic maple syrup reserve. Like oil or gold, Canada stockpiles millions of pounds of maple syrup in Quebec. It's called the Global Strategic Maple Syrup Reserve. And yes, it's been robbed. In 2012, thieves stole $18 million worth in what became known as the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist. This isn't just breakfast topping, it's liquid gold with armed guards. Fact 2. There's a place in Canada where you can mail letters to Santa, and he writes back. Every year, over 1 million letters arrive at postal code HOH0H0. Volunteers respond in 30 different languages, including Braille. The program started in 1974 when a postal worker couldn't ignore letters addressed to the North Pole. Now it's an official Canada Post operation, the only place where Santa has a government-verified address. Fact 3. Alert. Nunavut is closer to Moscow than to Toronto. This is Canada's northernmost settlement, just 500 miles from the North Pole. The sun doesn't rise here for 4 straight months. During winter, temperatures drop to -40 degrees for weeks on end. Yet people live there permanently, running Canada's most isolated military base in complete darkness. Fact 4. Canada and Denmark have been fighting a war with whiskey bottles since 1984. On Hans Island, Danish soldiers plant their flag and leave a bottle of schnapps. Canadian troops arrive, replace it with their flag, and leave Canadian whiskey. This has gone on for decades with no shots fired, just alcohol exchanged. It's called the Whisky War, and it's the most polite territorial dispute in history. Fact 5. The Hudson's Bay Company is older than Canada itself. Founded in 1670, it predates Canadian nationhood by 197 years. At its peak, this trading company owned 1/10 of Earth's land surface. Today, you can still shop at the Bay department stores, remnants of a retail empire that once ruled North America. A company that started selling beaver pelts now sells designer handbags, still operating after 350 years. Fact 6. There's a UFO landing pad in Alberta, built by the government. In 1967, the town of St. Paul erected an official UFO landing pad for Canada's centennial. The bronze plaque invites aliens to make contact without fear. The landing pad doubles as a time capsule, not to be opened until 2067. It remains the only government-sanctioned extraterrestrial welcome center on Earth. Fact 7. Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world's lakes combined. This isn't an exaggeration, it's verified geography. Canada contains 879,000 lakes covering 9% of Canadian territory. That's 60% of all the world's lakes in one country. If you tried to visit one lake per day, it would take 2,400 years to see them all. Fact 8. Churchill, Manitoba is the polar bear capital, where nobody locks their car doors. Here's why. It's legal to leave vehicles unlocked so people can escape polar bears. Over 900 polar bears migrate through this town of 800 people every fall. There's a polar bear jail where repeat offenders are held before being relocated. The town has a 24-hour bear hotline, and trick-or-treating happens during daylight for safety. Fact 9. Canada's lowest point is deeper than most people realize, and it's not underwater. The bedrock beneath the Greenland ice sheet near Ellesmere Island dips to 1,500 feet below sea level. But here's the twist. It's covered by ice so thick you'd never know you're standing in a massive depression. This geological bowl is pressed down by the weight of glaciers. If the ice melted, it would become one of North America's deepest fjords. Fact 10. There's a town that exists in 2 time zones simultaneously. Lloydminster straddles the Alberta-Saskatchewan border, splitting down Main Street. The west side is 1 hour behind the east side, literally. A restaurant can seat you in different time zones depending on your table. The city officially uses Alberta time for everything to avoid chaos, but technically you can time travel just by crossing the street.
Fact 11. Midpoint shock. Canada once tried to buy Turks and Caicos as its tropical province. Between 1917 and 1988, Canada made multiple attempts to annex this Caribbean island chain. The goal? Give Canadians a warm weather province to escape winter. It almost happened in 1988, but negotiations collapsed over taxation disputes. Today, Turks and Caicos still uses Canadian currency as legal tender, a ghost of what could have been Canada's 11th province in the sun. Fact 12. The longest street in the world runs through Ontario. Yonge Street stretches 1,178 miles from Toronto to Rainy River. That's longer than the distance from New York to Miami. Originally a First Nations trail, it became a key military road in the 1790s. You could drive it for 18 hours straight and never leave one street. Fact 13. Canada's official phone number for Santa is 1-877-HI NORAD. NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, tracks Santa's sleigh every Christmas Eve. What started as a misprint in a 1955 advertisement became a global tradition. Over 1,500 volunteers answer calls from children asking where Santa is. A military defense system designed to detect missiles now tracks reindeer trajectories. Fact 14. There's a place in Canada where gravity doesn't work properly. At Magnetic Hill in Moncton, New Brunswick, cars roll uphill when put in neutral. Water appears to flow upward. It's an optical illusion created by the landscape's layout and horizon line. But standing there, watching your car defy physics, your brain can't process it. It looks like pure magic. Fact 15. Canada has a desert, and it's home to endangered species found nowhere else. The Osoyoos Desert in British Columbia is Canada's only true desert. Temperatures hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit in summer, hotter than most Canadian beaches. It's home to over 100 rare species, including rattlesnakes and scorpions. Most Canadians don't know their country has cacti, tumbleweeds, and lizards thriving in domestic desert. Fact 16. Newfoundland is in its own time zone, and it's weird. Newfoundland's standard time is 30 minutes off from everyone else. Not an hour, 30 minutes. When it's 2 p.m. in Toronto, it's 3:30 p.m. in St. John's. They chose this in 1935 to align with the sun's position, and they've stubbornly kept it ever since. Professional documentary voice, natural flow. Fact 17. The Canada-US border is maintained by a 20-foot wide forest clearing. For 5,525 miles, a perfectly straight line is cut through wilderness. Trees are cleared every few years to mark the world's longest undefended border. From space, you can see this scar running through mountains, forests, and lakes. It's one of the most visible human-made features on Earth, maintained by two countries that share the world's longest handshake. Fact 18. Canada has more donut shops per capita than any country on Earth. Tim Hortons alone has over 4,000 locations serving 38 million people. That's one donut shop for every 9,500 Canadians. The United States, for comparison, has one Dunkin' Donuts for every 20,000 people. Canadians consume more donuts per person than anywhere else. It's not a stereotype, it's statistical destiny. Fact 19. There's a Canadian island that's been continuously inhabited for 4,500 years. Haida Gwaii, Hidahgwai, off British Columbia's coast, has archaeological evidence of human habitation dating back millennia. The Haida Nation has lived here longer than the Egyptian pyramids have stood. Ancient cedar longhouses still dot the coastline, alongside modern communities. This is one of the longest-running continuous human settlements in North America. Fact 20. Canada's coastline is longer than every other country's combined. At 151,019 miles, Canada's coastline exceeds the total of the next 6 countries added together. If you walked 12 miles per day along the coast, it would take 34 years to complete. This includes 3 different oceans: Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic. More coastline than Indonesia, Russia, the Philippines, Japan, Australia, and Norway, all of them put together.
Fact 21. Canada has a town with no roads connecting it to the rest of the country. Grise Fiord, Nunavut, is Canada's northernmost civilian settlement. The only way in or out is by plane or boat. No highways, no train tracks. Supplies arrive once a year by cargo ship during the brief ice-free window. A community of 150 people living on an island more isolated than most Antarctic research stations. Fact 22. There's a lake in Canada that contains the world's largest island in a lake on an island in a lake. Inside a lake on Victoria Island, there's another lake with an island inside it. That's 4 nested layers: island, lake, island, lake. This geographical inception is unnamed and mostly unvisited. It's so remote that Google Earth is the only way most people will ever see it. Fact 23. Canada moves 7 inches closer to Europe every year. The Earth's crust is still rebounding from the last ice age. When glaciers melted 10,000 years ago, the land underneath started rising. The Canadian shield is pushing upward while Scandinavia does the same. The Atlantic Ocean is slowly shrinking as both continents drift, 1 millimeter at a time, closing an ancient gap. Fact 24. A Canadian island was accidentally invaded by Danish special forces in 2005. Soldiers conducting Arctic exercises landed on Hans Island by mistake. They planted the Danish flag, realized their error, and quickly left. Canada's response? Send troops to replant the Canadian flag. With whiskey, the invasion ended with an apology and more bottles added to the ongoing booze exchange. Fact 25. Canada has more fresh water than any other country, and it's not close. 20% of the world's fresh water sits in Canadian territory. That's more than Russia, Brazil, and the United States combined. The Great Lakes alone hold 21% of Earth's surface fresh water. If you divided it equally, every Canadian would own 2.9 million liters, enough to fill an Olympic pool 7 times. Fact 26. There's a place in Canada where you can walk on the ocean floor without getting wet. The Bay of Fundy has the highest tides on Earth, up to 56 feet. When the tide goes out, the seabed is exposed for miles. You can walk where whales swam 6 hours earlier. Twice a day, 160 billion tons of water drains and refills this bay, more than all the world's rivers combined. Fact 27. Canada's national parks are larger than most countries. Wood Buffalo National Park alone is bigger than Denmark. You could fit all of Switzerland inside it with room to spare. It's home to the world's largest beaver dam, visible from space at 2,790 feet long. One park, bigger than 40 nations, built by beavers and protected by law. Fact 28. A Canadian town changed its name to advertise a website. In 1999, Halfway, British Columbia, became half.com in exchange for $100,000. The entire town, population 1,000, voted to rename itself after a .com startup. When eBay bought half.com in 2000, the town kept the name for a year. Eventually, it changed back. But for 12 months, a Canadian municipality was literally a corporate URL. Fact 29. Canada has a highway where you can drive for 2,000 miles without seeing a single curve. Highway 16 cuts through Saskatchewan in an almost perfectly straight line. For entire stretches, there are no turns, no bends, just flat horizon forever. Drivers report hallucinations from the monotony and optical illusions from the straightness. It's so straight that pilots use it as a visual reference from 30,000 feet. Fact 30. Canada's northernmost point is closer to Russia than to Vancouver. Cape Columbia on Ellesmere Island is just 480 miles from the North Pole. It's 2,400 miles from Vancouver, 5 times farther. In winter, you could theoretically walk across the Arctic Ocean to reach Siberia before you'd reach southern Canada. The country is so vast that its own extremes are separated by distances greater than most continental crossings. Emotional documentary close, reflective and powerful, slowing down. From syrup vaults guarded like Fort Knox to borders defended with whiskey bottles, from gravity-defying hills to streets that span time zones, Canada isn't just large, it's impossibly strange. A frozen desert, a populated void, a nation built on paradoxes that somehow work. And somewhere in those 879,000 lakes, another mystery is waiting. The only question is, which one will surface next?